Well, Orion, I am Jenna and I'm here with Temple of Geek today. How are you doing?
Amazing. I feel like I'm on cloud nine. It's been very surreal after waiting for what felt like an eternity, even initially to just hear news about this movie existing, down to getting to record it and now being here. It's weird how it felt so long and now it's like a rubber band. It just snaps and now we're like in the present. And I feel extraordinary. I mean, I've gotten to see the movie twice now. I'm going to see it again today because I've been bouncing around to some different theaters throughout LA to like surprise the screenings and stuff. And it's so cool seeing it in all the different formats. I got to see it in IMAX last night, and it just absolutely was just extraordinary. Getting to see it with an audience, and feel everybody's reactions and feelings to it. And now, after having, this relationship with people who've watched the show and connecting with the character for the past 3 years, it's really different than, when I first got the part and nobody knew who I was, and there's this, on my end, there's just an anxiety of like, I hope I don't disappoint people. And I'm sure on everybody else's side, they were like, who is this rando and why is he voicing our guy? So I think now we've really kind of built a trust and relationship with the audience, and I could feel it during the screening. It was really special. So I feel really, really good. And everyone's work is so beautiful. It's it's a real privilege to be a part of something that I think completely take me out of it. I really think is one of the great films, anime films, whatever you want to call it. I think this is going to go down in history as something really special.
I love it. I love the recent trend of, making taking anime certain arcs and making them into films. I think that that's such an interesting format, and for you as an actor it must be a great experience.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because recording it is really very similar to how you would record any other project, but the experience of seeing it and experiencing it on that scale and sharing it with an audience that wide, and even just the way that they promote it, and it's pretty insane. It's really an extraordinary experience where you can feel the enthusiasm and the energy. And I feel like for a show that ended its first season 3 years ago, and people have been waiting for this next arc. It in the best of ways, it feels like we're like at a fever pitch now for the enthusiasm. It's like it never went away. People have just been like so hungry for it, and I think it's so beautifully done that we're just like able to celebrate it. It's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's getting rave reviews across the board. People are crying and screaming and laughing in the audience. I personally like, there were certain scenes we recorded a couple of different takes or options or lines, and like there were a few that in my heart I was like, I really hope we keep this and this and this. And seeing the movie, I was like, oh, they kept all the stuff that I wanted, and it was landing where I was hoping it would land. And it's yeah, it's been amazing.
Ugh, I love to hear that. It must be such an experience. But what can you tell me about the new Chainsaw Man movie? What can you tell us without kind of
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
giving
yeah,
away
yeah.
too much?
Well, I can be specific and vague because you know what I'm talking about regardless. I think what people can expect is in the same way that when you first start the show and you're like, I know what this is, and it completely flips you on your head and you go, oh, I wasn't prepared for what this is. This is going to take that to, I think, a whole other level where it really opens the story up dimensionally in a different way. I think a lot of people are going to really come to understand Denji a lot better, his core and his motivations and the understanding of what makes him who he is. And I think there's going to be a much more clear comprehension of what that is. It's like I'm trying to be vague about it to some degree.
Right.
But I think this opens up the story, and it opens up the viscerality and the emotion on a level that the show only started to like scratch a little bit. In so many ways, even when you read the manga, this arc is the one that feels like it's really starting the story. I feel like the first season sets up the chessboard. It gives you all of the characters, it shows you the players, it gets you to understand the logic of the world and how things work conceptually, and it gives you a really human connection. I mean, you're crying with Himino and all this stuff by the end of the first season for sure, but people are really not prepared for what this movie's going to do to them emotionally and viscerally. I mean, and on a visual level, it is so astounding. It is, I mean, lots of people have brought up Miyazaki to me. It feels like it's just such passionate, high level love letter animation to this arc. And they take moments that, even if you're, well versed in reading it, it expands upon these ideas and these scenes and these moments in ways that are so pure and genuinely like mainlining Fujimoto's spirit. There are things that are so creative, whether it's like a transitional cut or an audio cue or things that they use to tell part of the story. It's so cinematic. It really is. I mean, seeing it last night with some friends and some family and people who some have zero context, all these different layers of it, right? And the most unanimous thing was people walked out of it and they're like, that was a movie. Like that was a movie. It's sometimes you see an anime film and you're like, oh yeah, that's like some episodes that are just like shot really well and on a big screen. But like this feels like a film and an idea and a complete thing. Yeah, it's gonna leave people devastated. And it's really funny. It's got everything. But I mean, yeah, people are not ready for like the weight of this film and this story, I think, which is
Oh,
my most that's what I'm most excited for, is for people to be like, oh.
I like how you tried to just soften the blow. You're like, they're gonna be devastated, but it's really funny.
Yeah, it's like the humor's all there, but like I think the beauty of this story is how raw it is and how unflinching it is, and like to me, I'll just say, like, as vague as I can be, there's a scene, I just call it the pool scene, but like to me it's literally the most devastating moment in the movie. I think it's so beautiful and sad and haunting, and there's a lot of magic in it. It's really going to surprise people.
Well, along those lines, like Denji really goes through it in this arc. I mean,
Yeah.
Denji is typically going through it, but really in this arc, especially. So, how do you, as an actor, convey a character who's really just knee deep in it?
I mean, for better or worse, I Denji is the closest character I've ever played in my life to things that I've felt and places I've been in my life. I joked, but it's true and it's its own thing. But like, this might have been the easiest performance I've ever had to give, because it was so. I know these feelings very well, and I know where he's coming from. This arc always resonated with me really deeply. Yeah, it's strange. It's like it's funny because it doesn't need to be, but it is really just, it happens to be very emotionally tied to so much of a lot of my life, and I just get it. And I think more than anything, it was about just letting myself be vulnerable and open and allowing those feelings to be as present and upfront as I could to fill his body with what needed to be authentic. And I love him so much, and I love this story so much, and I love the fans of this story so much. I didn't want to like hold back.
Right. Right. And you've been vocal since the beginning about how much you love Denji and just Chainsaw Man in general. Were you always a fan before you got the role, or was it something that you kind of picked up when you got into it?
The craziest part about all this is that I hadn't read a manga. I was working in voiceover. I started in 2019 working professionally and like, working in anime and stuff like that. But I hadn't read a manga since like middle school. I hadn't really paid attention to what was going on, nor did I necessarily find the stories like grabbing me in any particular way. I was always a big film guy. For me, it was, Paul Thomas Anderson and the Coen brothers and Fincher and Fellini and, this just, that was where I loved my storytelling and my, David Lynch and all that kind of stuff. When the pandemic happened and I was living by myself in a very Denji like scenario. I was living in a garage unit behind a house. I didn't have a kitchen. I had a hot plate on a table. My vocal booth was next to my fridge, and I had to unplug my fridge every time I had a session or had to audition for something. And one day I see this cover online, and it was, the title's so strangely on the nose, and the image is so punk rock and weird. And I was just intrigued. So I open it up, and in the same way that the show does it, from that very first page, you're like, what is this? And it just spoke to me in a way that I wasn't prepared for. It was like every film or painting or great story or weird, art exhibit. It was like, it felt like all of these things that I loved mashed into one thing. It was brutal and funny and sad and weird and so sensitive and so crass, and everything felt so purposeful. It didn't feel like anything was like there to just be shocking or jarring. It was like so intentional in everything, and it spoke so clearly to me, and I just fell in love with it. And I was like, my response was really like, oh shit, because I knew it was going to become a show. It just was so clear that like this there's no way someone was going to ignore this. But I was still so new in the industry and so kind of like isolated on my own little island, and never considered that whenever it came around to being produced that I would even be a thought to audition for Denji. So I was like, I was preparing my heartbreak before the show was even announced, because I just was like, there's no way, So when it did come across my way to audition for it, I was in denial. I like almost didn't do it. There's a lot of layers that were so weird. And Mike McFarlane changed my life. He was the one casting and directing that show. And everybody auditioned for that thing. You think, I mean, like, I could tell you, the homie that we were talking about earlier auditioned for it. Everybody we know, anyone you could think of that is great and deserving and absolutely would knock it out of the park auditioned for this thing. And then so did this weird street rat. And like, somehow, some way, Mike heard whatever I was bringing to the table and was like, this feels right, and trusted me with something so important, and didn't even know what it meant to me already. So it really means a lot.
So you're just living your best fan life. You're already a fan, and now you're
Yeah, it's crazy. He's my guy, and I don't think I've been satisfied emotionally, creatively, or otherwise more than this project consistently. Like, nothing else makes me feel so deeply in it, and I'm so grateful that, if this is the only thing that I ever get like that, I mean, what an extraordinary adventure.
it's fantastic. How long, out of curiosity, how long did you have to wait until the first season ended to find out that this movie was being made?
The same time it took for you guys to hear
Really?
it. Yeah, we don't hear any special kind of news. I was, when I heard that Jump Festa, whatever year it was, 2022, I guess, the end of that year. Or no, it was probably the year after, because I think, if I remember correctly, because the show came out towards the end of the year. So I think that December, Jump Festa had them on stage to like just do like a thanks for watching the show. And then it was a whole year later before they even announced anything. Like, we just were in silence, and then they were like, we're making a movie, and they had that little brief little promo thing, and that's when we were all freaking out. And then it was like a year later when they dropped the first teaser. And like, all of that was me experiencing that in real time. So in the same way that I have no idea what the plan is next, but I know that this December they're going to be on stage at Jump Festa. So my hope is we'll get some cool news, but I am just going to be watching with bated breath like everybody else. It's which is, exciting for me too, because I like to stay present with everybody during this experience. The parts that are our own are when we get to record and do all that, and then the rest of it I love experiencing and sharing.
Right, the excitement of, there's that excitement of the unknown of, oh my gosh, are they going to release something, and are they going to continue?
Yeah,
It's really
yeah,
must keep you on the edge of your seat.
yeah, absolutely. And I have full faith that it's going to keep being amazing, because they have just continued to treat it with so much love. And Mappa's an extraordinary studio. We got the pleasure of getting to meet them in New York, actually, and I got to speak to the president and a few of the head animators, and just word vomited my love for them and this story and my connection with Denji. And I think they were like kind of surprised at how passionate we were about this. And, we really just let them know like we're taking care of it over here. So, and that we were grateful for them. So it was a really rare privilege, but I think they're extraordinary and they clearly love it in a way that is, you don't always get that lucky. So I feel like this whole thing is just this very special, weird for a show that is so strange and so dark and so upsetting. I think it touches people on such a deep level, and I think we need that right now. So I'm grateful that all the pieces involved in making it come to life, I think, really feel that way, and feel passionate about it.
Right, and that resonates with the fans. That's what, you wanna see as a viewer and as a fan of and somebody who's followed Denji's story from the manga or even from just the first season. You wanna feel that connection, and I think you really do bring that
Thank
to
you.
the character.
Thank you.
And as we're talking, I remembered that you also were a voice in Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
very.
you were very traumatizing. You traumatized me that I forgot about it until right now as I was looking at you.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like it's such a tiny moment. He's like an episode and a quarter. Of and like barely. It's right. It's like a scene and a half, really,
Oh,
and he's such a oddly definitive, moment and character in that. Like it's so. A lot of people bring it up how much it messed them up, and I was like, oh man. I mean, I'll take it as a compliment. But yeah, I agree. He was a sweet, sweet little boy, and he was like, everything's gonna be great.
never in that
Little did
world.
he know. Yeah.
But along those lines, like actually, what I was planning on asking you was
Yeah.
if you could pluck Denji out of Chainsaw Man and throw
Hmm.
him into any other anime world, what would it be?
Oh, Pokemon.
He would love that.
Yeah. Like a lot of people I think assume I'd be like, throw him somewhere else to fight. And it's like, no, man, like he wants to be surrounded by adorable animals and good food and everybody's like really nice and like the meanest person's gonna be like, battle me at my gym. Like that sounds great. My boy, that sounds like a life he deserves.
Oh, he does. He really does.
Yeah. I've thought about this a lot, clearly.
Oh, good. Yeah, you had that answer locked and loaded. You were
Yeah,
ready.
yeah. By the time you were still asking it, I was like, here we go.
And in my head, I'm like, maybe like Demon Slayer, but that like
Yeah,
this is
I listen. I get that people's first instinct is to try and think of a place for him to fight, but I'm over that for my boy. I want him to relax.
he needs a vacation for sure.
Yes, yes.
So, what are you watching right now? What are you loving?
Um, I mean, I always feel like this is either disappointing or confusing to people because they expect me to bring up a lot of anime, but like I'm a movie guy, so like for me, I just saw One Battle After Another, the Paul Thomas Anderson film. He's been my favorite filmmaker since I was in high school. I just watched actually an incredible 5 hour long documentary on Martin Scorsese called Mr. Scorsese, that was made by Daniel Day Lewis's wife, Rebecca Miller. And it's literally five, it's like an episodic, it's technically a documentary film, but it's like spread over 5 hours worth of episodic kind of telling. And if you like Scorsese movies or just filmmaking, it's, such a deep dive into not only his craft but like his personal life throughout the process of doing it. It's like really candid, and I'm a big nerd for that kind of stuff. Like I'm rewatching a lot of Anthony Bourdain because I love Anthony Bourdain and I love food and traveling and the way that he saw the world and experienced it and connected with people and brought people outside of their shells, kind of all over the map with stuff, but like very little anime.
No, I can imagine. I mean, there's just so much to consume that
There's
one
so
single
much to
vertical
consume.
is.
It's crazy. I'm trying to think. Like I was trying to catch up on some TV shows. I watched The Studio, which I loved, and I finally watched all of Severance, which was really cool. So I'm like, I'm getting my stuff together. I'm doing my homework.
You're catching up on everything.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I completely get it. There's just sometimes you need to disconnect from everything and then come back in fresh.
yeah. Truly.
But if you could leave our viewers with one thing about the new Chainsaw Man movie? One overall thought that will draw them in. What would you say?
I would say this is an absolute must see in the cinema because it is crafted with so much care and thought to be told in that perspective, from that place. And it is truly one of the most beautiful, visceral, kind of profound pieces of art I have just even seen in a really long time. I think this is going to hold up as a masterpiece of work. Like, I'm not talking about my dub specifically. I'm just talking about the film. I think it is something truly beautiful and special, and it is a love letter to the fans and to this arc and to Fujimoto. I think it is pure mainline, and it's got a lot of things that I don't think people are expecting to see in it, even if they know the arc. So I'm really excited.
Oh, that's it. That is exciting
Yeah,
for people who read the manga.
yeah. Oh man, when I was recording it, there were moments where I was like grabbing my head in disbelief or just like holding back tears. I mean, it was really, to see how they did it was pretty astounding.
Well, I, for one, am very excited to see it, and I'm sure our audience is as well. But Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time today and talking to me.
My
And
absolute
I just
pleasure.
wish you the best. I wish you the
Thank
best on
you.
this journey.
Thank you so much. It's so good to see you, and yeah, I'm very curious what you think when you see it. Like, especially as someone who's read it, I don't think you're going to be disappointed, but I hope you love it.